So I recently got a question about sore hip flexors. When from running, it's either going to come from a couple of things. It could maybe that you've added in some different elements to your workout, some more sprints, some intervals, some faster running. It could just be sore from that. Possibly there's a fix to your form that might be causing you to overuse your hip flexors, or maybe you're just tight, or it could be a combination of all three. So we're going to look at all three of those things. We're going to do mobility, do a little bit of strengthening the muscle itself, and then talk about form and the role of the hip flexor and proper form in running, the difference between running and sprinting. So the most common stretch for the hip flexor, you want to just get into a half nail position. Full nail would be both knees, so it's just one knee down, half nail. I like to get into a door jamb or up against a pole or a rack if you have a vertical rack. And this way you can keep yourself in proper form and alignment. So your butt, lower back, mid back, upper back, head should all be straight and up against, in this case, the door jamb. And you want to keep yourself nice, tall, and braced and tight through your core. If you want to get a little bit of extra stretch on that, you just, from flexing my glute right now, just flex the glute on the side that's down. Adjust your knee either forward or back. It's going to change the amount of stretch you get there. You put the arm up on that same side you're stretching. It's going to make it a little bit more intense. You can do a little bit of a lean. Don't bend way over. Think about pointing on the side that you're stretching, that hip, away from you. So I'm thinking of pointing to that wall and getting nice and long and tall up through that arm. Or if you want, you can let this leg fall out. That changes the angle a little bit. Make sure you still keep your hips squared up, pointing straight ahead, but just let this off leg just kind of fall out. And that's going to give you a little bit of a different angle stretch there. Another great stretch, you can put that against the wall. It's called a couch stretch because you can do this on your couch. If you're doing it on your couch, the leg just goes up against the back, push into the cushion, but in this case against the wall. So my knee is going to go down where the wall meets the floor, leg behind me. Again, that same position, up nice and tall, braced. You don't want to be leaning way back. You don't want to bend over at your waist. You want to stay nice and tall and straight. Think about driving your hips forward. So keeping that, make you a little bit more stretch there. Or again, you can go with the arm, you can grab this leg and give an additional stretch. That's going to get more in the front of the quad. Again, you can let this leg fall out to the side. You can do a little bit of a twist on that off leg there. Another variation, same stretch. Take a large med ball. You also could do this on a stability ball. Leg just goes back and stretch again. Gets a little bit more of the quad. Give you a quick demo with the stability ball. Just have it standing. Drive the leg that you're stretching. Think of driving the knee into the ball. Stay up nice and tall and stretch like that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is strengthening the muscle itself, the hip flexor. A couple things you can do. You can start seated on a bench and kind of progress. So no resistance, just here and lift and lift. And you should be activating your hip flexor. You should be generating that movement from the hip flexor. Always keep everything squared up, shoulders, hips, knees, feet, head all pointing forward. And just lift up there. Get a little resistance. The next progression would be go with the band, but shoulder width apart. That off foot stays down to anchor the band and give you resistance. That same motion. You then can progress to standing. Put this at the end of the bench. And again, make sure everything's squared up. Get your feet shoulder width apart. Toes, shoulders, hips all pointing forward. And lift, hold, lift, and hold, lift, and hold. And that actually gives a little bit of stability on that off leg. And then lastly, take the band again. Goes around both feet. Step out so that you're creating about a 45-degree angle to the wall. Brace yourself in like a plank position. Stay up nice and tall. Head up straight. And lift. You can speed it up. Always maintaining that good proper form. So that's just some strengthening you can do for the muscle itself. Now, talking about form, maybe you're overusing your hip flexors. Use your hip flexors when you're sprinting. So when you sprint, there's a real intentional hip drive. And you really want to get that leg up. You get it down and you're trying to generate as much speed as possible. When you're jogging, you don't want to be using your hip flexors as much. A lot of your forward motion and propulsion is going to be from the muscles in the back. So you want to generate a lot of your power from your glutes and your hamstrings, and then you lean. So as you're running, you got a forward lean, so that means you're going to be going forward, and then your legs should just be lifting and then falling. You don't want to be intentionally driving it up. So a good drill to do would be back to wall. You're not quite touching. You may be a couple inches off the wall. Arms in whatever position you carry your arms in when you run, and just lift that heel up. Then you're trying to draw that heel right to your butt. You're not bringing your leg way out, you just bring it up. And if you bang the wall, then you're not in the proper spot. So you want to think about this heel comes up and it stays in line with that other leg. And that's your proper form. So that when you're running, like I said, you're leaning forward. That's going to get your momentum going this way, and that leg just comes up, and that's proper form. So those are just a few things you can look at that might be causing you some issues with the hip flexor, and hopefully that fixes it.